Fallout 76. Jim's reaction is what most people's reaction when I asked a guy at GameStop, had he played it? Does he think it's worth it, even though it has a massive price drop? General consensus, there are some really, really crazy defenders of it right now that want to say the game is what it is. I've read both sides. I think there's, of course, way more people overreacting. I think there's some people, and I'm one of the biggest Fallout fans there is. I think you're trying to defend it a little too hard. Yes, most people who played Fallout have always said it would be cool to have a multiplayer. But let's face it, we've always been okay with the single player. We've never cared. Like, Fallout 4 was a perfect example. That engine was still dated. And apparently the 76 engine is just
it's
like
the
4.
same engine.
Same engine. Slight graphical upgrade, maybe. But essentially, we got a little taste of, like, expanding the horizons in that game by building bases and stuff. Made it feel like a little bit of a different game. But people have always been like, oh, man, I wish I could roam around this post-apocalyptic world. And now we do. But they took a big cut out of the main story and the objectives and NPCs, which is one of the reasons why you love Fallout. How many goofy characters from the Fallout could arguably go down as the greatest video game NPCs ever? Well, for me personally, there's a lot.
There's a lot from 3. Hey, New Vegas has some cool ones, too.
I know you didn't.
I didn't play 4.
4 has a shit ton. And
then you have that freaking TV face monster from the first one.
Yeah. So
what a good description.
It's like, so now though the problem is, especially with 76 I'm hearing, is all your quests are basically just from computers. It feels extra desolate, which given the story of 76, it's like right after the blast and you're one of the first vaults opened. So in theory, it should be a little more desolate, but that's besides the point. What?
Battery.
Oh. But that's kind of besides the point. I mean, I guess in general, Jim, when you see this blowback, do you think it's warranted or not?
I actually have the privilege of being the social media guy, so I've been able to see this from the beginning. And at the very start and before it got released, I was on the thing of people are just being babies. It's not my Fallout. It's not like Fallout shouldn't be multiplayer. And I was under the impression of give it a shot. Let's just see what comes out first before you bash it. Maybe it'd be cool. It's a cool universe. And then, even when it first released and people were going nuts, and I mean, it's not like you should be able to, like, with a Bethesda game, be like, oh, it's going to be buggy. Like, of course, it's like a meme now. It's a thing you shouldn't allow, but, like, it's a thing that, like, normally the games are so good that you just kind of accept it. Yeah. You, like, look past it. But
and the sheer size of the things.
That's the thing, too. Like, an MMO is always prone to bugs because of how big it is.
Yeah.
And Bethesda is always prone to bugs because it's Bethesda. So you throw that two together, and then you just see all the things that have just come after it. The fact that, like, the autosave system, which is something that MMOs have done for over a decade now. The autosave system sucks. Like, you can lose 10, 20 minutes of stuff if you lose your connection to the server.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. The bugs, the fact of just how barren it is. Like, the charm of Fallout is the world. And you take the world out, you take the people out of the world, you just have a desolate landscape.
Yeah.
So I know it's supposed to be builded up with the players you play with, and I will admit I haven't played it myself, so I don't know. Like, maybe if I had the right group of people to play with, yeah, it could be fun. But even the other shit, like the pre-order bonuses, like the bag, that wasn't the bag that they honored when you paid like $200 for it, or problems with people had with the helmet and shit like that. Just all, and Bethesda's attitude after the fact, just everything, just it's such a bad form from a company that normally just hits it out of the park.
Would you say they learned from Blizzard? Huh?
Yeah, I mean, at least, did they insult the crowd? I mean, there wasn't a crowd, but I mean the internet.
I mean,
they probably got snarky.
They weren't as
they
bad.
didn't take it in stride. Let's put it that way. They didn't go, oops, our bad. They kind of like doubled down on their shit.
So the reason why I said before all this that the primer to this conversation was asking Jim, does he prefer a developed game or a finished game? within weeks.
This was a finished game.
They cut the price
even though
half.
the beta was done like a month before the game actually came out. Like, that's no time at all.
And there was plenty of comments about, hey, this shit needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. With this system, if you're going to make such a big paradigm shift with your universe like that, they admit it. They needed to figure out how to interact multiplayer, like having multiple people in the same universe.
VATS is useless.
Yeah. So basically, it's like you're not going to satisfy the people that really want player versus player, because apparently if you don't engage, you're doing almost no damage to someone. So unless they engage, it's kind of like you can't force player versus player, which
just dumb.
Fallout isn't. Yeah, either you're gonna.
You would think it would be a perfect setup for almost like a DayZ kind of game, where it's like survival and like forming cliques and groups.
But too many people get too upset given like what you said, like losing too much shit or whatever. So that's why it's like, okay, maybe this little experiment showed Fallout is not the universe to make multiplayer, or at least if you wanted to test it out, you should have made a $30 game to begin with. Give it a map a half the size of what you did. If you're not even going to occupy it with storyline and all this other shit, then just make it half, charge $30. It's an online-only experience. Don't even do disc release. Just do online, test it out. If it goes sour, then it was a fun little experiment. If it goes well, implement it into Fallout 5, and you got yourself a gold mine.
I've seen it said before, No Man's Sky, Fallout Edition. Tell me they're wrong.
Yeah, it's not. So let us know what you think below. Are you defending it? Have you played it? Do you enjoy it?
Especially because, like, the majority bashing games on sales, like
people
out the
bitch
ass
about
now.
everything anymore.
People do bitch about everything.
Yeah.
So if you are like the staunch defender of it, let us know why. We would love to see it.
Yeah.